Oh, the joys of making videos. This is about my 10th take where you stop halfway through what you're saying and think that sounds absolutely crap, so I'll start again. But this is my final attempt, so if it's bad, I do apologise. I'll simply tell you what I've done today, and that is go out on this Suzuki V Strom 800DE, which is on loan to me from Suzuki, who have kindly let me use it, let me have it. I've got friends who work at the PR office, James there, who said, yeah, please, try one, see what you think. And the curiosity for me is that in this bike is because for the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I've gone down in engine size. I did have GS 1200s, and I was interested in Africa Twins and things like that, but I've gone down to sort of 400cc bikes. And so this 800cc class of bikes has kind of passed me by, or is passing me by. And I was very intrigued as to what it offers and who it's going to most suit. So that's why I was very keen to spend some time. If you watched the video I did put up the other day, I think the first question I asked is, who is VStrom, man? Who is buying this bike? Because I kind of can't see the connection with the audience. As I stated, like from a trail point of view, it's not got the slimness or the lightness of, say, a Tenere or a Touareg. And from a touring point of view, it's not got the sophistication or the maturity of, say, a Tiger 900, or the simplicity or, the safe nature of a Transalp. Why do people buy Transalps? And I think just because it's a safe, conservative choice. But why do people buy V-Stroms? And I think today's ride was an attempt to try and figure that out. And I've got to say, I was incredibly impressed with the bike, like far more so than I would ever imagined. For the simple fact is that it's got real character. Like, you never think of a V-Strom as having character, or certainly not exciting character. They're always known for being durable and versatile and reliable and cheap and economical and, pleasant, but they were never seen as very exciting, which is why they attracted an audience, but that audience sort of stayed in a corner and didn't bother anyone else. But it feels like with this bike, Suzuki have tried to break out from that corner. And I would say if it invokes anything, I would say it invokes the spirit of the old crazy banshee Suzukis of old, whether it be the TL1000s or the RG250, RG500, original Hayabusa. It seems to have got that same wildness about it. And I don't mean wildness in a bad way, but for the first time, it's got like a frothy, excited character to it, the V-Strom has. So much so that you think, why did they call it a V-Strom? Because they've completely changed its nature. And you could say it's a good or a bad thing that they've changed its nature. I think for the people who like the old one, I can imagine this is a bit of an upset or a bit of a slap across the face, because what is it? What do I make of it? All of a sudden it's got power. All of a sudden it wants to carry the rider at great speed across rough terrain. All of a sudden it's got tall suspension. So I can see there's been possibly a bit of an alienation between the bike and the older V-Strom rider. But what they've created, I would say, is a Japanese KTM. What does that mean? It means they've blessed it with great suspension and a characteristic and makes you want to ride it like a maniac, which are virtues that have never gone hand in hand with V-Strom. Let me try and explain. The suspension is sublime. I think the way that this bike carries itself over rough, choppy A and B roads is incredible. I think there's a reason this was a bit more than a Transalp. I've not ridden a Transalp, but from everything I read, it sounds like Honda have done that age-old trick of putting budget suspension on a bike. They all do it. Suzuki, in this case, have put some top-quality suspension on, which means that every ounce of power that engine makes, this chassis can make good use of. So the speed at which this carries itself down A and B roads is just, frankly, incredible. Like, we think of it as an adventure bike, a trail bike. I would say what this is a really good A to B road bike. It's not a racetrack bike, but in real-world conditions, I can't imagine there's many bikes able to carry speed as well as this carries speed. Everything about it is just honed to perfection to make the propulsion of the bike as seamless, effortless, and brisk as possible. The throttle is crisp, the power comes in nice, smooth and strong. It urges you to use all its power. The brakes have got great feel, they work well. Everything about the controls, the bars are nice and wide, the steering lock is good, the balance when you're going slow speed and want to put a foot down at an off-camber junction, that's good. The bike feels very stable in those conditions. And then the road opens up and it just says, come on, let's go. And you ride the absolute beans out of it. Like, in a way that I've not ridden a motorcycle for quite a few years, in fairness, because the bike just wants to do it, and he's very good at doing it, and it says, come on, let's do it. So there you go, skipping hand in hand with this motorbike, absolutely blatting down A and B roads in a way that you just wouldn't think is possible for any motorcycle, let alone a V-Strom. So it makes me wonder if I am V-Strom man. I still think it's a poor choice for a trail bike, simply for the fact it's too heavy. I took it off-road. Yes, it's great on the compact Savannah-style trails that we don't have many of in the UK. On the muddy stuff, it's too heavy. You know, it's all the weight sits there. As soon as it gets sloppy, it's like, oh, this is going to go down. It's going to cost me a lot of money. If I land underneath it, it's too heavy. Can I pick it up on my own? You know, somebody sent me a link to the chap riding one of these in Australia, and I watched a video. Great rider, but then they drop it, and it takes two of them to pick it up. What good is that in a real world situation when you're riding on your own? It's no good at all. Equally, from a touring perspective, it's sort of 75, 80 miles an hour, a hell of a lot of wind coming at you because there's no cockpit. So in terms of the parameters, trail riding at one end, long motorway riding at the other, I think this fails at both. It's neither near here nor there. But there's a great deal of space in the middle in which this bike just makes absolute sense and actually makes for the most exciting ride I've had on a motorcycle in a long, long time. As I say, engine is good, engine is strong, and suspension just goes, I can deal with everything you're going to throw at me. I'm soft and I'm supple. I'm going to give you good comfort. You're never going to feel the jarring of those bumps, but I'm going to handle myself in such a way that I'm just going to carve over everything without any loss of speed, any loss of momentum, any reason to brake, and I'm just going to go pfft. And it's a rare bike. It's a rare bike for doing that, because they've took the one part of a bike which everyone else compromises on or cheapens on, the suspension, and they put good suspension on. And I think that's worth the entry price of this bike alone. The fact that you can buy one of these brand new for £9,000 is quite spectacular, really. And that was kind of why I thought they'd not been selling, because there's great big discounts on them already, which is never a good sign. And it just shows it's difficult to sell a V-Strom. Like, it's got no allure, it's got no sexiness. And I think in this case, the badge doesn't match the bike. The bike is far more exciting than the badge. And it is a shame they didn't change it to DR Big or something like that, because whoever engineered this bike gave it a character that we wouldn't expect from a V-Strom, and which is actually probably going to be at odds with historic buyers of V-Strom. But if given the chance, people who ride this bike will be incredibly impressed by its ability. But people have got to ride it to realise that. And that's a task for Suzuki. Getting non-V-Strom riders, non-V-Strom man, to ride this bike to realise just how capable it is. And then obviously being a Suzuki, it's going to be incredibly reliable, dependable. Its spokes are going to tarnish, obviously. We expect that from Honda in Japan, Honda and Suzuki. So they've already started to go, which is, no good. Why can't we have stainless steel spokes? Why can't we have tubeless stainless steel spokes on these bikes? Suzuki, answer that. There'll be a reason, but it makes no sense to me, because I would look at this bike and have second thoughts about taking it to Scotland, because if I got a puncture, I'd be knackered. And I don't know why. I don't know why on that detail, that crucial detail that they decide to make the decision of putting tube wheels in. I don't get it. Somebody will say, well, it's in case you dent a rim, you won't lose pressure. But this bike is not going to be ridden 95% of the time by people who are going to take it off-road and ride it in a way which is going to dent a rim. It's just not going to happen. So it means that the 95% of people have got to suffer a tubed rim. And I wish Suzuki would conjure up a solution to that, because it's a pain in the ass. But today's first ride on the V-Strom excited me massively. I actually, to the point where I had a chance to do another trail on the way home, and I thought, no, I'm going to stay on the road because I'm having so much fun riding this as fast as I feel safe enough and dare enough. It is a cracking bike. It's a cracking piece of engineering. I am V-Strom, man. Is it too much power for my tours when I go through Spain? It probably is. I don't need 84 horsepower. There's a lot of that's going to be wasted. And to be honest, having a bike that encourages you to ride it flat out is probably not a good thing for travelling. But it is good fun. So I shall look forward to doing more miles. 44 miles a gallon I got today. Not great.